Hi, everyone. I'm Nikki Kinzer.
And I'm Pete Wright, and we wrote a book.
We did. It's called Unapologetically ADHD, a step-by-step framework for everyday planning on your terms.
The book is designed for you, adult ADHDer. It's designed for you if you felt like other planning systems don't take into account your ADHD.
That's right. So we want you to partner with your ADHD and figure out what you're doing today, what you're doing maybe later this week. And it also has great essays written by Pete Wright, who talks about his own experiences with ADHD and how some of these systems and methods work for him.
We hope you'll give it a shot. You can find it anywhere books are sold. You can learn more about it at takecontroladhd.com/ADHD book. And you'll find buttons to buy it at whatever bookstore you prefer.
Thank you, everyone.
Now on with the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright. I'm here with Nikki Kinzer. Oh, look, it's Nikki right there, there.
I'm right here.
Hi.
Hello.
Boo.
Hello.
You scared me. It's a very, let's see, as this episode goes live, Nikki, you realize today is Halloween.
Oh.
This is a spooktacular edition
of the
ADHD podcast.
Yes.
Spooktacular edition. I'm very excited about it. We've got a good friend come back to the show. He's only been on once before talking about comorbidities, and he's become best buds. We just love having him here to talk to us and help us understand new concepts. And that's what we're doing today. We're talking about delayed sensory affect. And it's a new topic. I feel like it's going to be a barn burner. Before we do that, head over to takecontroladhd.com. Get to know us a little bit better. You can listen to the show right there on the website or subscribe to our mailing list, and we will send you an email with each episode's release. You can connect with us on Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest at Take Control ADHD. And don't forget the Discord. That's right, the cord, as they call it, I think, if you're cool. That's probably not true. takecontroladhd.com/Discord. That'll get you over to the invitation where you can log in and see our free channels. But, if you like the show, if you like what we've been doing for the last 15 years, we sure hope you will consider joining our Patreon, patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. It is listener-supported podcasting. It supports everything we do. It supports the team that helps to put this show on every week. It's a big part of how we, pay for our shoes. That's the truth. We sure love your support. No judgment if you're not in a place to do it, but boy, does it ever help. Every single subscription helps. What do you get? You get access to our live streams. You can join us and chat with us and our guests as we record the show live. You get early access to every episode that comes out in your very own personal Patreon podcast feed. So many P's. And of course, you get all the other, there are all kinds of other perks, special podcasts, special bonuses. We do all kinds of stuff. So visit patreon.com/the ADHD podcast to learn more. Dr. Michael Felt is an ADHD and executive functioning specialist who has lectured at Yale University School of Medicine and is a professor at Columbia University, where he teaches psychopathology. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that sparked a lot of interest during our last Patreon Q&A, delayed sensory affect, or DSA. We're thrilled to welcome Dr. Felt back to the show to teach us all about this misunderstood, maybe, phenomenon and its relationship to ADHD. Welcome back to the show, Michael.
So great to be here. Really, it's so cool how sometimes when you have chemistry, things just click.
Just falls together.
So good to be here. Feels like we've known each other forever. This is really great to be here, and it's always awesome to talk about DSA and ADHD and how to make ADHD awesome.
Well, you say that it's always great to talk about DSA, and I don't think we've ever talked about DSA. We're first timers, so we got to start with what the hey, who is it?
What is this? Yeah.
All right. So, hi, I'm DSA. I'll introduce myself. So DSA is really the way that I coined the phenomenon of where our sensory input and our sensory cues kind of get overwhelmed or ignored due to that rushing stream of stimulation throughout our day. the way I like describing it the best, and forgive the crude example, I call it the "I have to make" phenomenon. Now, here, just hear me out. Hear me out. Right. So, as you guys know, right, we just welcomed our fourth child. So that means that we have a lot of little kiddos here. And obviously, whenever mom and dad need to get anything done, no judgment, but we sometimes use the telly as a way to, keep the
Hmm.
kids to watch something and have the screen babysit for a good 20 minutes and give us minutes of blessed relief. So
Hmm.
during this time, right, as the kids are sitting in front of the screen, transfixed by Bluey or I don't know, one of these other amazing adult redeemers, um, we'll ask, like, so, is anyone hungry? No. Anyone want a drink? No. Anyone need to make? No. The second that show is over, all of a sudden, all of them at once in this raucous cacophony of complaint. I need a make.
Uh-huh.
I'm hungry. I'm starving. Right. And my very child, right? She'll also like that. She really, like, really, really, really needs to make like right now, like
Yeah,
12
right.
seconds ago now. And I was like, my wife would always get like so exasperated, like, what? Just pause the video and go and fish. Like, what's the problem? I just don't get it. And the answer is that when our children are watching that screen, and not saying that it ever happens to us, but
Mm.
children, right? When it happens to our children, right? So they're watching a screen or they're looking at something, right? So they're totally bought in, they're transfixed. And because of that stream of stimulation, it becomes so much more exciting than whatever like kind of little impulses or like if you ever seen like on a studio or something like when someone's talking, so the little buttons go up or like on a EKG machine
Yeah,
when
right,
something
right.
goes
Yeah.
up. So they're not seeing the little hits of like hunger, needing to avoid thirst,
Right.
right? Because there's something so much more bright that outshines all of the other sensory input.
Mm.
And then what ends up happening is that as soon as that sensory input is reduced, all of a sudden the rest of the senses, right, and all the other cues that were coming up for them, they're now loud and center, especially because the longer you wait, right, the more intense those sensory cues become. So it's
Right.
really this like giant, almost like battle between our stream of stimulation, meaning external stimuli, and our internal sensory cues.
Mm.
It like our receivers are all on mute for a little while.
In a way, I wouldn't say they're mute though, because they're there. That's exactly the point. It's a
Mhm.
delayed sensory affect. We don't feel the sensory input until afterwards, meaning until after the stream of stimulation, right? Till the SOS stops. Meaning when we're caught in a stream of stimulation, it's too exciting. It almost blinds. It's so bright. You never heard, like, the concept of a bright spot, right? So there are blind
Mhm.
spots and bright spots. Like, it really just blinds us to what's going on because of the excitement of this current stream of stimulation.
Well, and isn't that the definition of hyperfocus? Like you're in a hyperfocus mode. And so that when you're in that mode, then this is when this delayed sensory happens
Affect, well,
or
then
affect
yeah, okay.
happens.
The point of the delayed sensory affect, it's the phenomenon of what happens when that hyperfocus wanes or
Right.
when
Right.
it's over, and now what, right? I'm
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
I know for me that happens all the time, right? So Alan Brown has this great advice. He says, whenever you sit down to hyperfocus session, always bring with you the proteins, the drink, or whatever. For two reasons, I think. Number one, because I know how many times I'll get up to get a drink before I start the project I was
Yeah,
going to sit
right.
down to do 12 minutes ago. But also because when we're in it, when we're so hyper focused, then between the time blindness and the hyper focus, we're experiencing this delayed sensory affect, which is that even though our body is still hungry, or we are still thirsty, or really do need a void, right? But we're just not feeling it as much because it can't compete with that sensory input that we're getting from this like stream of stimulation of whatever the stimuli that I'm involved in, the spreadsheet that I need to finish, this YouTube short that I must see, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and the other one. Oh, and the next one. And
Yeah,
this one looks
yeah.
cool too. Right. But by the time that's over, what happened now? Right? What about our hunger? Where'd that go? The point is it didn't
Mm-hmm.
go anywhere. It just got stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was my next question. Like, I feel like when as I was researching this on the other side of those hyperfocus events, that delayed sensory affect, now that I have words to describe it, seems to uh, uh, describe how I misunderstand the sensory information that comes in all at once, right? And sometimes that comes out in exaggerated responses, right?
Ooh,
Maybe
I
I'm
like that word.
angry, maybe I'm, something is too funny, too sad, too whatever, but I'm misappropriating the original sensory input and I am amplifying it
I
perhaps
like that. I'm writing that down.
incorrectly.
Exaggerated response. Ooh, I'm gonna add that to the clinical definition of this one. This one's good.
See, that was really
Outstanding.
good. Not bad for a guy with
Pete.
a
Thank
hat and a
you.
beard.
Yeah.
Not bad.
That is awesome. We witnessed something big here.
Something big just happened. I don't actually know what just happened, but I feel good to be just in orbit of it. I mean, the point is, how do I, like, I see that as a special bundle that comes with my bouquet of ADHD symptoms, and what what like how do I like how do you treat that? How do you meter it?
Right.
Awesome. Oh, I love it. You guys get straight into the guts of it. So, I personally have this whole like build up. You know me.
Yeah.
So if you'll
I'm
allow me
sorry
just
if
to
if
continue
I
the build up,
interrupted your narrative. I encourage you to please take it on.
I will. So what's funny is that it's easier to see it in kids because it's so much more intense and
Yeah.
extreme and black and white.
Because they're
But
following you around.
Yeah.
Mom,
yeah,
mom, dad, dad, dad. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. I need
What's so
food. Give me
interesting,
food. I want snack.
Yeah.
but when it happens to me, it makes me feel like a kid.
Well, yeah, because
That's
we're going
And
very
back to our
strange.
overwhelmed.
primal. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
we're back in like beast mode.
Yeah.
right.
And so what's cool is that it's not limited to kids. Like, think about adults going through the modern day equivalent of watching a show, right? Like, the modern day equivalent of that stream of stimulation, our own SOS, would be work. You
Mm.
have one meeting, and then an email you have to send to that annoying person that you never answered, right? And then another email that yeah, you should have done that also like 2 days ago, right? And then this new email that's way more exciting than the other two emails that you're really supposed to have done, but you're going to do this one first, right? And then another email, and then, well, I really need a drink, and then but first, this coworker has my stapler, right? And then another meeting. And so it's just like boom, boom, stream of stimulation, stream of stimulation. Then you get home, and as soon as you get home, you yell at your partner, and you're like, whoa, you could chalk it up to, RSD and all sorts of impulse and whatever, which is true. And I love that phrase, the bouquet of executive dysfunctions.
Mhm.
Yes, 1,000%. That's all part of this phenomenon of delayed sensory affect. But what's really going on is exactly that, is that my own stream of stimulation is now waning, right? As I'm leaving that rush of just like constant adult stimuli. And now I'm finally able to like my bodily senses and my internal cues are now raging, right? So I still haven't finished that stupid coffee that's probably on my desk, lukewarm and nasty,
Mhm.
right? And yeah, this food that I packed, I like kind of didn't really get to it. And then I ate some nuts or ended up buying some junk from the snack machine, which I vowed I would never do. And like every day. And
Mm.
then the point is that like by the time we get home, we're underfed, I'm, like, overworked, impatient, and just, like, yucky, just
Tired.
nasty,
Yeah,
right? And it's the adult equivalent of, "I have to make,"
yeah.
Yeah.
because now we're like, I remember when I would get home from school, right? So I was in a full day, like, doing, like, college and rabbinical school in the morning, those crazy stuff. I was out from 7 to 7, and then I would go back from 8 to, like, 11, and then do, like, homework from 11 till 2 AM. So, like, I was in this constant stream of stimulation, and I knew as soon as I got home, I would have to strip, just take off all
Yeah.
my clothing and just sit on the couch with a beer and just, like, unwind. Right? Now, again, it's that stream of stimulation that was just going and going and going. Then my body just got overwhelmed, and that's it. I get home, I couldn't do anything other than just veg out.
Mhm.
Right? And now, like, it kinda makes more sense, like, looking back at it, "Oh, that makes sense." So it's the delayed sensory affect. Where I find it most comforting to, like, recognize our delayed sensory affect is that, again, personal disclosure here, right, is me coming home, right, and then being handed a kid who's screaming, and then another one who's, like, clearly just, urinated on the floor, and then, like, another one who's just, like, not talking to anyone because she's not in the mood. And then I'm like, "Wait, you want me to deal with this?" Like, I'm just snappy and irritable and gross. Like, what happened? Like, everyone's so excited. Daddy's home and daddy's nasty. What just
Right.
happened?
You're
Why
right.
is daddy nasty?
And that's the answer. The answer is because daddy didn't take care of himself. Now,
Yeah.
daddy's a lot smarter. Daddy brings cookies or an apple, and it's an apple a day keeps the DSA away. Because
Oh, I
when
love that.
I know it's nice, right? I just thought of it now. And as I get home, I just pop an apple because the starchiness of it like makes me feel full, right? And so
Yeah.
it at least attends to some of that like DSA that's been going on and all those like internal stimuli that I haven't yet sensory input that I haven't yet dealt with. And make sure to go to the bathroom before I get home. I make sure to like just like take care of my bodily needs before I get home. This way I don't have to, like, bring my whole package of DSA as a dark storm cloud on my
Right.
poor, helpless family.
Shed the overstimulation
What
from
Yeah,
an
your
and just
skin.
important
Yeah.
I really do appreciate that we're having this conversation because like this is the first time that we've talked about this. How do we build? I mean, we're talking about it. We're talking about the symptoms and things like that. But what's your recommendation for those listeners who want to continue being aware? Like, how do you know this is happening to you?
well, you could track the pattern of when you're
Uh-huh.
called nasty. Like,
True. Yeah.
when does your husband say that you're just nasty? When does
Yeah.
your, like, partner feel that she just can't be around you?
If you guys are
Like
fighting a lot or bickering.
yeah,
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
look for those patterns. A lot of science is about noticing patterns,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if we combine that scientific outlook with internal self-awareness, we're really gold. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're good to go in almost all of life,
Mm-hmm.
but especially here. And
Mm-hmm.
being able to kind of be aware of these patterns, and it takes a drop of humility, something I'm working on still, to recognize like when like okay, I'm not exactly in tip-top shape during this time, and that honesty that like yeah, this is
Yeah.
not my preferred self. Um, and then kind of looking inside, taking a deep breath, that 3-6, right? 3 seconds in, 6 seconds out of just like, okay, let me just feel what's happening in my body. It's like a drop
Mm-hmm.
of mindfulness. Pete, I feel like you'd be all over this.
I'm totally all over it because I'm thinking right now about just my own routines, right? And for me, it's very much, it's one of those dominoes things, where it starts with the one and then it grows and grows, and at the end it's this explosion of dominoes. I feel like that's the metaphor for my day. That I meter my day so that when I reach the end of my workday, there's nothing left in the tank. And that means my wife, I mean, I work out of my house. My studio office is in my house, and my wife can hang out in the kitchen and listen to me be excited and happy on podcast after podcast and be in a great mood. And then the door opens at 5:30, and I'm a different person. I'm a substantively different person. There's like 10 feet of transition space between the guy I was when I was happy on a microphone and the guy I am now who's surly and hasn't had the space to, again, purge the the overload that is now just all hitting. And so I'm trying to be really aware of what can I do in 10 feet so that I don't bring all of the negative stuff I've been storing up and pretending not to notice out of my office and, thrust it all over everybody else in the house.
Yeah, it's like getting me emotional as you're saying that. Cause like I'm right here. Like that's the door. And literally my bedroom is like right here. And like also I feel like the wall here next to me is my kid's bedroom. And like they hear daddy being so happy, so positive and encouraging, this like beacon of hope and light and love. And he gets out, it's nasty dad. And as you're talking, Pete, I'm like getting emotional. Like it's so not fair to our family and the people we love the most. Like everyone else gets the best of us. And then the
Yes.
people we care about the most don't.
And it sets a model. Like, what does that mean? Like, when I'm at work and I'm being compensated for the work that I do, am I compensated for my mood then? Is that what it is? Does my family need to somehow compensate me to be in a good mood? And that's just a horrible sort of constraint. And I'm trying to be super aware of that. And I don't feel like I've had words or a collection of words to describe why it feels the way it does. And it just feels like I've been bathing in sandpaper at the end of the day.
So I'm going to put my coach hat on. It's on. Okay. So a lot of what you're talking about too is that transition from going
Mhm.
from work to home. And because you don't have a commute, you don't have any space in between, you have no transition time. And so,
Exactly.
one of the things that I would say as a coach is, how do you build that in for yourself? Because maybe that means before you walk into the living room, you walk outside and take a walk, or you like make a
Yeah,
commute.
create a commute.
Create that space, because you need that with your ADHD as well, right?
Yeah.
Like you need to be able to switch that or flip that switch and then become that person that you need to be at home.
Yeah. I'm gonna start walking down the hill, get on a bus, go downtown, get
Yeah,
on a
whatever
train,
you
go
need to
downtown,
do. Like
find some random building, and then
No,
come
the
home from it.
equivalent of a home happy hour.
Yeah.
Like, this is
Right.
what
right.
happy hour was. It was supposed to help all the rest of the world deal with their DSA,
Yes.
right? So, like,
Yeah.
why shouldn't we have anything less? I think we should start installing our own bar in the 10 feet between our
There
office
you go. It's
and the
just
rest of
That's
a
the world.
right.
'It's a
10-foot
business
bar.
expense, space.
Exactly right. Why is it taking so long?
There are so many things that could go wrong
I don't know what you're
with
talking
that.
about. In
Or
fact,
so many
I
things
can't
that
even
could
hear
go
you.
right. Is that what
That's
you
Connection's
true.
meant?
breaking
That's
up.
true. Yeah. Yeah. I just have to say, when you were explaining that scenario, Pete, it reminded me of I had a friend, this was many years ago, and neither one of them had ADHD, but this was just a marriage issue where he was an engineer, and he was building bridges, and he was in charge of a lot of people, and he would come home, and she always felt like he was treating her like an employee. And he's like,
Yes.
and they would fight about it. And she's like, I am not your employee out on the bridge. I'm your wife.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a really important, subject, regardless of DSA, ADHD. It's like just a people communication partnership that we have to be aware of when we're making those transitions from work to home.
Yeah, like building bridges and creating connection. It's not about
Yeah.
the bridge, it's about the connection.
Yeah.
Well, it's so
Absolutely.
interesting to talk about. I mean, we talk about it in terms of the primal sort of what it makes me feel like a child when I'm going through that sort of tantrum stage. And so it makes me really wonder about the way DSA impacts us across our lifespan, right? I feel like I am suddenly aware of DSA because now I have words to describe something that I was aware of all along. But I wonder how you see it change in people, if it changes at all. It sounds like it might not even change at all. We're all throwing little DSA tantrums at the end of the day.
Well, we all experience the DSA because it's just a reality, right? It's that
Right.
conflict between the stream of stimulation and our own sensory input or output, really, right? Whatever's happening inside us. And we have bodily needs. Our sensory, like, it's always going to be happening. We're always going to become more hungry, become thirsty, and always need to use the restroom, right? I mean, hopefully, if you're not, then we have much bigger problems, right?
Right.
Very
But
true.
the point is that there's always going to be this internal conflict. And I mean, as long as you're a functional human being, there will always be this kind of conflict. And so that's a good thing, right? It's a good thing that we're having that. It's just, I think, even better to be aware of, okay, this is a reality. It's not just like oh, like I'm having, like, I have to avoid this DSA. No, DSA happens. We're all DSAing all the time, right? So the question is, how do we deal with it? I love my apple a day because it's a way that kind of, it helps me kind of attend to the negative effects of DSA. Right? Again, I don't know if I've yet to think of a positive effect of it, but I don't want to limit DSA to being negative. I just feel like it's a reality. It's a
Yeah.
like a net neutral. It just is what it is. This is us, especially those of us with ADHD and how our prefrontal cortex is constantly taking in all those like airplanes of data that are coming into our air traffic control tower. There's a lot of it's just a constant stream of stimulation. Our brain is fluid. Thoughts happen in like this fluid, nonstop process. And like, think about it. Have you ever not thought a thought? Ever
Yeah.
not felt a feeling? There's always
Right.
something.
Right.
Right.
Something I would add that has helped, and this is coming from somebody that does not have ADHD, uh, and I'm coming from the place of where I'm doing a lot of listening and a lot of talking, throughout the day with clients and, the business. And so and I'm an introvert at heart. So it's very difficult for me to walk out at the 10 feet of my space and then come to people who have ADHD that want to talk to me. And they talk a lot. And they have big stories. And one of the things that I have found is we just recently did this, but I will show my husband, this is my day today. And if he sees a lot of green, he's going to know that, okay, maybe she's not going to be real talkative this evening. But like yesterday, I only had 2 clients and it was at the beginning of the day. And I had all kinds of things that I could do yesterday. I went grocery shopping. I had family dinner. We were like talking the whole evening. So I think part of it is also communicating like what you need and um, just kind of doing it before the fight happens or the irritation seems to help.
That's really interesting. I mean, I feel like what I'm realizing here is that really for my home environment, I need to be more talkative about exactly what you're saying. Like I need to be more aware of what they are hearing on the other side of the door and need to tell them up front, I'm going to be exhausted at the end of the day. I already know that because I know what's ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have the great privilege and luxury that my wife also works out of the house upstairs and we can now meet for lunch, right? We can meet and our kids are gone, right? So we have the ability that I don't come out and inflict myself on her the way I have in the past. It is solemn, this awareness, because I do wish I had come to terms with this 22 years ago, right? Like this is delayed sensory affect awareness, DDSAA. And but it's, if not then, why not today?
Well, that's right, because you've got the whole, the
Yeah.
whole future is unwritten. So
I'm curious, Michael, that I know DSA is not a diagnostic, right? It's not in the DSM, right?
Not yet.
So what's the plan? Are you working on that? Have you submitted it?
I've yet to find the official inquiry or
Okay.
submission page.
Is there a form? Google
right.
something?
But I'm hoping that as like to me, it doesn't even have to be in the DSM. I just wanted to provide this solemn awareness that you're experiencing
absolutely.
now. We all
Yeah.
deserve that. None of us like being nasty dad or
Mhm.
like irritable dude or whatever. Like
Mhm.
we want to be our preferred self. And I think that having this awareness allows a space for forgiveness for ourselves
Yes.
first
Yes.
and maybe for other people to develop understanding and acceptance of us, but mostly for ourselves to just like
Yeah.
recognize, oh wait, so I'm not necessarily a horrible person. But just when I DSA and I don't effectively manage my DSA, it makes it harder for me for me to be the person I want to be. And now, like
Right.
being aware of it allows us to then embark on the steps you just outlined, Nikki, which is being communicative about it, talking about it, preparing for it, right? The apple a day, right? Or just
Mhm.
even like telling people. I'm not the biggest fan of like telling people, "Oh, I have RSD," because I feel like that ends up just coming across as an excuse, and our partners end up feeling like, "Oh, another one of those ADHD things. Yeah, shove it. I've heard enough,
Yeah.
right?" And every day you
Yeah.
Yeah.
come up with another acronym for why I should put up with your horrible behavior. This is not that. This is for us.
Mhm.
For those of
Mhm.
us who are struggling with it, to have that awareness that allows us to have an acceptance and then allows us to take, steps forward to combat it or effectively manage it so that we don't have to be nasty, so that we could be the person we wanted.
Oh, this is great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to me, and I do you knowing that it's not diagnostic, we're getting more and more people talking about it and aware of it. Where do people go to learn more?
That's such a good question.
Have you written a book about it yet? Like, is your book coming?
A book is coming. I was just working on an agent and getting someone that's gonna do this right.
Yeah,
But yeah, I could do it in there. I'm just torn, because I feel like it should be out right away, and we all know how long it takes for books to come out, and
yeah,
I'm wondering if maybe Um, we could make something. You know how like we all need deadlines? I'm wondering if
mhm.
like maybe we can make a deadline where I'll try to write something up, or you guys to either post on the site, or put on my website or
Link to it, we'll
something.
put
Oh,
it on your site, yeah.
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 It's great.
Just like a little like blurb. It's kind of cool though, because I think that you guys are like that introduction, like you're the frontier And if anyone ever wants to know about it, they could come to you guys. And this is really where we kind of flushed it out a little bit. Pete, I love that phrase, the way you defined it as like an exaggerated response. Because it really is, right?
Yeah.
It's an exaggerated response. Like when our kid says, I have to make, right?
Mhm.
It's them, and it's an exaggerated response to that sensory input. But we also have that in our own more sophisticated adult ways.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sophisticated or not, I'm still an ass, right?
Yeah.
Well, this has been wonderful and illustrative, and thank you for poking at us, and making sure that we come back and talk about it, because it's important stuff. And I think, just seeing people in the chat room who are saying, oh yeah, nice to have words, right? Nice to know this is what defines that experience, because now I can talk about how to change my relationship with it, like everything, right? Explanations that are just for us. That is a beautiful way to put it. So thank you, Michael. Appreciate you. ADHDdoctor.org. You haven't moved your website, have you?
Not yet. One day when I embark upon the Felt Center for ADHD Excellence or something like that, I'll let you guys know. But till then, it's just same old ADHDdoctor.org, just trying to do my bit for the rest of us ADHDers.
Outstanding. As we wrap up, it is the last day of ADHD Awareness Month. And we've been asking our guests all month long to do us a favor, as if sitting around a beautiful and gigantic shared table. Would you offer us a toast? Raise a glass and offer us a toast to our ADHD? What do you have to share?
Sure. So it happens to be when I give my toasts, or what I call a l'chaim. So when I give my l'chaim, I often accompany it with a blessing. So I'm going to give the toast with my blessing. And my toast is the ADHD, that annoying, brutal part of us that forces us to become better people and allows us to utilize self-awareness and slowly recognize how ADHD as a self-control problem really allows us to become self-control masters and masters of ourselves. And that's my blessing, that we could use our ADHD to look inside us and become the best version of who we want to be.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
That's great.
This is wonderful. This is really, really wonderful. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being here. Thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to this very show. We appreciate your time and your attention. Don't forget, if you have something to contribute to the conversation, we're heading over to the Show Talk channel in Discord, and you can join us right there by becoming a supporting member at the deluxe level or better. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer and Dr. Michael Felt, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll see you right back here next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.